As Horizon 1 grew, word of its existence spread far beyond New Brooklyn. Stories of a city without money, hierarchy, or private ownership sparked interest, curiosity, and, in some circles, fear. Soon visitors arrived, activists, government officials, journalists, all eager to see if Horizon 1 was a vision of the future or merely a hopeful mirage. They came with cameras, recorders, and notebooks, each hoping to uncover the truth, or perhaps the flaws. Among the visitors, one journalist caught Alaya's attention, Miriam Gray from the International Times. Reserved and incisive, Miriam's questions were sharp, her gaze sharper still as she observed every detail, taking meticulous notes. Alaya sensed something personal in Miriam's attention, a skepticism laced with unease, as if Horizon 1's ideals touched a nerve she preferred to keep hidden. One afternoon, Malik addressed a gathering of visitors and residents, his words carefully chosen, each carrying weight.
Horizon 1 isn't just an economic experiment.
He began, his voice resonating with conviction.
It's a new way of life. Here, resources are managed not for profit, but for people. We're challenging the notion that survival depends on competition.
Miriam raised her hand, her voice steady but with an undercurrent of doubt.
But isn't competition what drives innovation? Without it, won't people lose their incentive to improve?
Malik met her gaze, unshaken.
We've been taught to believe that scarcity drives progress. But history shows that in times of crisis, people don't compete. They cooperate. Horizon 1 is built on the principle that, in an environment of abundance, people will innovate and create because they want to, not because they have to.
Alaya noticed Miriam's mouth twist slightly, a subtle reaction that hinted at something beyond professional doubt. There was frustration, maybe even a trace of pain. She sensed that Miriam's skepticism was rooted in something deeper, something that went beyond Horizon 1's ideals. As Miriam's gaze drifted, Alaya caught a flicker of something in her eyes, a momentary softening, almost a flash of hurt. Miriam quickly masked it, but not before Alaya sensed that her distrust was personal, stemming from a place of experience, perhaps even loss. It was as if Miriam's view of Horizon 1 was clouded by a memory of technology's failings, a scar that had not yet healed. Alaya wondered if, beneath the journalistic skepticism, there lay a story, one where trust had been broken in ways Miriam was reluctant to revisit. Over the next few days, Miriam became a fixture in Alaya's daily life, her quiet but probing questions cutting to the heart of Horizon 1's foundation. One evening, as residents gathered for a workshop, Miriam sidled up beside Alaya, her tone both curious and challenging.
Do you really believe Horizon 1 will last, Dr. Chen?
She asked, her voice casual.
Or is this just another attempt to change human nature?
Alaya met her gaze steadily.
Horizon 1 isn't about changing human nature, Miriam. It's about creating an environment where people don't have to live in fear. When people know their needs are met, they don't need to take from others. Behavior isn't something we're born with. It's shaped by our circumstances. When we remove scarcity, we remove the reasons for theft, for distrust. In Horizon 1, we're building a place where cooperation can naturally replace competition.
Miriam arched an eyebrow.
But you're an economist, not a sociologist. Are you truly willing to risk your entire career on this?
Alaya felt a flicker of irritation, but kept her tone calm.
This isn't about my career. It's about building something that addresses people's real needs.
Miriam's pen paused, a faint smile tugging at her lips.
I guess time will tell,
she murmured before moving off to observe the rest of the community. As Alaya watched her go, she sensed an unresolved tension in the journalist. Miriam's questions were more than professional skepticism, and Alaya resolved to find out what was driving her relentless curiosity. Later that evening, Alaya overheard two visiting journalists talking in hushed voices nearby.
Did you know Miriam's brother was in an accident caused by AI?
One whispered.
She blames the company that made it, Synex Corp. Ever since she's been wary of AI controlling anything, seems like Horizon 1 is just bringing up old wounds.
The other journalist murmured in agreement, and Alaya's suspicions deepened. Miriam's guarded distrust made more sense now. Her connection to Synex Corp and her wariness of AI explained her intense scrutiny, especially toward the systems Horizon 1 relied on to ensure fairness. This discovery reminded Alaya that Horizon 1 wasn't just a radical idea, it posed a threat to the existing world order. And while Horizon 1's ideals attracted admirers, it also drew powerful adversaries. As external scrutiny intensified, tension simmered within Horizon 1 as well. Adjusting to life without personal ownership proved challenging for some residents, especially those wary of the AI-managed resource system. Lyle was particularly vocal about his discomfort. One evening, Alaya noticed him in a heated conversation with Anna in the communal gardens.
I just don't trust some machine to decide what we get and when.
Lyle said, his voice edged with frustration.
Feels like giving up control.
Anna, who had adapted easily to Horizon 1's ideals, met his gaze calmly.
It's not about control, Lyle. The AI is designed to ensure everyone has enough. It's not choosing who's more important. It allocates based on need.
Lyle shook his head, his expression a blend of frustration and skepticism.
I've spent my life fighting to keep what's mine. You can't just turn that off.
Alaya stepped forward, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder.
Lyle, I understand this is a big change.
She paused, thinking for a moment, then offered,
Let's treat this as an experiment. We can test alternative configurations, collect feedback, and refine the system based on real results. This way, everyone sees and trusts the data driving our decisions.
She could empathize with his unease. In New Brooklyn, she had spent years navigating automated systems that ignored human needs in favor of cold efficiency, where metrics often trumped well-being. She had seen how systems like these bred resentment and mistrust, feeding the very fears they were meant to mitigate. Horizon 1's AI was different, designed transparently and openly for the community. But for people like Lyle, who had spent a lifetime guarding what little they had, trust would require more than promises. It would need to be earned, shown in daily actions. Lyle's shoulders relaxed slightly, though traces of doubt remained in his eyes. Alaya knew that for him, and many like him, letting go of a lifetime's worth of caution and self-protection wasn't a simple decision. It was a process, one that would unfold over time, built slowly on trust and openness. One evening, a minor glitch in the AI caused confusion in the resource center. The system briefly over-allocated supplies, leading some to believe there wasn't enough for everyone. Alaya felt tension simmering as residents gathered, murmurs of distrust rippling through the room. It wasn't long before Lyle voiced what many were thinking.
This is exactly why I don't trust the AI,
he said, frustration tightening his voice.
Machines make mistakes. What happens when it decides some of us don't deserve what we need?
Anna jumped in, trying to calm him.
It's just a glitch, Lyle. It's not about deserving or not. The system is here to make things fair, but it needs adjustments sometimes.
Alaya addressed the group, her tone steady.
I understand the concerns, and we're working to prevent this from happening again. But remember, the AI is just a tool. Horizon 1 is built on trust in each other, not just in machines.
She continued, her voice thoughtful yet determined.
We need to approach this objectively. Let's observe, document, and identify patterns in these challenges. If we find a common cause, we'll experiment with solutions and see what works.
She noticed some residents nod, reassured by her words, though others still looked uncertain. The setback forced Alaya and Malik to approach the issue more gradually, arranging small discussions to help residents feel comfortable with the system. They invited questions, encouraging everyone to voice their thoughts and fears. It was a slower process than they'd anticipated, but Alaya could see that trust, once earned, would be deeper and more resilient. The tension wasn't limited to internal adjustments. As Horizon 1 attracted more attention, opposition from the outside world grew louder. Media coverage became increasingly polarized, with some labeling it a utopian fantasy destined to crumble. The more Horizon 1 thrived, the sharper the backlash became. Alaya felt the weight of these attacks acutely when one night she was jolted awake by the sound of shattering glass. She rushed outside to find the main community center in disarray, windows broken, supplies strewn across the floor. Anna, who had also arrived, clenched her fists, her voice filled with anger.
Who would do this? They're trying to make us doubt, to scare us into giving up.
Alaya's gaze hardened as she took in the damage.
Horizon 1 is more than just an idea. It's our home, and we're not going to let fear drive us back to what we left behind. We're not just reacting to threats. We're using these setbacks to refine our resilience. Every challenge gives us information to improve, evolve, and come back stronger.
Residents gathered, faces resolute and determined. They spent the night cleaning and repairing, their efforts not just a restoration of the building, but a reaffirmation of their commitment. Working side by side, they felt their bond deepen. This wasn't just an experiment, they were defending a way of life. Watching the residents united in purpose, Alaya felt a surge of pride. Every challenge they faced, however disruptive, was a chance to reinforce the foundations of Horizon 1. Each setback became a shared experience, a reminder of why they had chosen this path. This was about more than survival. It was about becoming stronger, about shaping a resilient community capable of withstanding the pressures real change demanded. One morning, Miriam approached Malik with a series of pointed questions. Her tone cool, but her expression revealing hints of personal struggle.
What if your ideals don't hold up, Mr. Rahim?
She asked.
What if people revert to self-interest?
Malik's face softened, a rare vulnerability in his eyes.
Building a community like this is a risk. We're pushing against centuries of conditioning, against beliefs deeply embedded in society.
She tilted her head, genuine curiosity in her gaze.
So you're saying it might not work?
Malik nodded thoughtfully.
It's possible, but we're choosing to believe in something beyond survival. And even if we fail, the attempt is worth it. It's a step toward a world many of us have dreamed of.
Alaya noticed a flicker of doubt cross Miriam's face, her guarded skepticism softening. Her questions became less pointed, more contemplative, as if she were wrestling with her own beliefs. After the interview, Alaya approached Malik, her voice low.
I didn't know you had doubts.
Malik looked at her, his expression gentle.
Doubt is part of the process, Alaya. Every day I wonder if we're ready for what's coming. But even with uncertainty, I know we can't turn back now.
The following week, an anonymous note appeared on Alaya's desk. The message was simple but chilling. Synex Corp is watching. Be careful whom you trust. Alaya's heart pounded as she read it, her mind racing with possibilities. The warning hinted at something deeper, a shadowy threat beyond mere skepticism. She shared the note with Malik, whose face grew tense with worry.
They're not going to let us succeed easily, he murmured. Horizon 1 threatens their foundation. We need to be prepared for what's coming.
They decided to keep the note confidential, but it hung over them like a cloud. Every interaction now felt charged with suspicion. Alaya found herself studying the faces around her, looking for signs of betrayal. The possibility that Horizon 1's greatest threat might come from within was a sobering reminder of the difficulty of building something truly revolutionary. As Miriam continued to observe the residents, Alaya noticed a shift in her demeanor. Conversations with people like Lyle and Anna gave Miriam glimpses into the personal transformations happening within Horizon 1. The lives people had left behind, the hope they had found. Slowly, Horizon 1 became more than an abstract idea to her. It was a place filled with people striving for something greater. One evening, Miriam approached Alaya, her voice unusually contemplative.
Maybe I was wrong.
She admitted quietly.
Maybe there's something here worth believing in.
Alaya looked at her, sensing a genuine shift.
Horizon 1 isn't perfect, Miriam, but it's a start. And if you want, you could be a part of it.
Miriam didn't respond immediately, but Alaya saw the conflict in her eyes, a faint glimmer of hope tempered by years of skepticism. Horizon 1 had challenged everything Miriam believed, and Alaya understood how difficult it was to let go of a lifetime of conditioning. As the sun set over Horizon 1, Alaya felt a renewed sense of purpose. The community was fragile, threatened by those who doubted, those who felt threatened, and even by those within. But the strength of Horizon 1 lay in its people, in their resilience, their courage, and their shared hope for a better world. No matter the obstacles ahead, Alaya knew they would endure. Horizon 1 had become more than a dream. It was a testament to the possibility of a world rooted in trust, resilience, and the unbreakable belief that together they could create a new reality. As Horizon 1's vision expanded, so did the stakes. What had begun as a hopeful experiment had become a beacon of change and a target. Malik and Alaya knew challenges would come, but as outside threats grew louder and internal tensions simmered, the weight of their responsibility grew heavier. Every test strained the fragile web of trust holding their city together. The initial opposition was subtle: corporate smear campaigns, news articles questioning Horizon 1's viability, whispers from powerful figures invested in the old ways. But soon the attacks became direct. Early one morning, Alaya found Malik at his desk, his face etched with worry as he read a legal notice bearing the Synex Corp logo.
They're claiming we've infringed on their proprietary AI technology,
Malik said, frustration flashing in his voice.
They know it's baseless, but they're betting that a lawsuit will wear us down and deter potential supporters.
Alaya felt anger flare within her. Synex Corp's legal maneuver was a transparent attempt to destabilize Horizon 1, to plant seeds of doubt among the residents. She knew the looming threat of legal defeat could easily fracture the community's fragile unity. Determined to resist fear, she rallied support from legal experts outside Horizon 1 and reached out to residents. Malik called an emergency meeting, addressing everyone with his calm yet firm resolve.
This lawsuit is more than a legal challenge. It's a test of our commitment,
he said, his voice steady.
We won't let anyone outside Horizon 1 dictate our future.
To their surprise, the residents responded with overwhelming solidarity. Volunteers offered their skills, knowledge, and resources to support the community's legal defense. Synex Corp's attack, intended to divide, instead unified Horizon 1, deepening its resolve. But as the legal pressure mounted, cracks began to appear within their own ranks. One evening, Alaya discovered a troubling scene in the vertical farms. Water valves had been turned off, leaving rows of crops withering. This sabotage was no accident. Someone was trying to undermine Horizon 1's self-sufficiency. Malik and Jiro joined Alaya to assess the damage. Malik's face was grim.
This isn't random. Someone wants people to question if Horizon 1 can truly meet their needs.
The incident forced them into action. They organized a security team of residents who volunteered to take turns monitoring critical areas. Malik and Jiro reinforced the infrastructure with additional sensors to detect tampering. Still, Alaya felt the weight of betrayal. Sabotage from within threatened to erode trust, their most vital resource. Determined to address the issue openly, Alaya held a community forum where residents could voice their concerns. They aired their anxieties and frustrations, sharing fears that ran deeper than the present sabotage. Yet, in expressing vulnerability, they also reaffirmed their commitment. Horizon 1's strength, it became clear, lay in its ability to turn doubt into unity. One evening, Lyle approached Alaya, his face lined with skepticism.
This AI, it doesn't sit right with me, Dr. Chen.
He said, his voice edged with unease.
What happens when it starts choosing who deserves what?
Alaya listened carefully, but she wasn't the only one who had heard similar concerns. To address these growing doubts, Malik organized an open discussion, inviting residents to share their thoughts. The room was filled with a quiet tension as people hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. Finally, Leah, a young artist, broke the silence.
I came here for freedom,
She began, her voice steady but charged with emotion.
but sometimes it feels like the AI is just another authority. I want to trust it, but it's hard.
Malik nodded, his gaze moving across the room.
The AI isn't here to control us. It's here to support us. If anyone feels otherwise, then we need to improve how it works. Transparency is key, and if adjustments are necessary, we'll make them.
True to his word, Malik and Jiro collaborated on new features that allowed residents to view the AI's decision-making process in real time. It was a bold step, but over time it proved effective. As the community witnessed the AI's decisions ensuring fairness for all, doubts began to fade. What once felt like an unseen force gradually became a trusted part of their shared vision, a transparency rarely seen in the outside world. Just as the community began to settle into trust with the AI, a new tension emerged. Whispers of favoritism rippled through Horizon 1, fueled by residents questioning whether the system truly operated without bias. Suspicion began to spread like wildfire, threatening the fragile unity they had worked tirelessly to build. Recognizing the potential for division, Alaya and Malik called a meeting, framing the issue as a challenge to be resolved with reason and transparency. Malik addressed the room, his tone calm yet resolute.
Horizon 1 stands on principles of fairness and trust. If anyone feels the system isn't meeting those principles, let's bring it into the light. We need evidence, patterns, not rumors, so we can act on facts, not fears.
The residents hesitated before stepping forward, sharing personal anecdotes of perceived inequity. Alaya meticulously documented each concern, noting specific patterns or claims to investigate. She collaborated with Jiro to cross-reference these accounts against the AI's data logs, applying statistical analysis to identify anomalies or potential blind spots in the system's programming. To further validate their findings, Malik proposed an interactive demonstration. Using anonymized real-time data, Jiro ran simulations to replicate how the AI processed requests, displaying the inputs and logic driving each decision. Residents watched as the process unfolded, revealing the impartial criteria, need, availability, and sustainability that guided every allocation. The transparency sparked murmurs of understanding and relief. Still, one troubling anomaly stood out: irregular access logs to the AI's database. They suggested manual interference, raising the question of whether human tampering, not the AI, was behind the discrepancies. As the meeting concluded, trust in the AI had been largely restored, but a lingering unease remained. Alaya and Malik exchanged a glance, knowing they had uncovered a deeper mystery, one that could fracture Horizon 1 if left unchecked. Then came a chilling revelation. Security logs revealed suspicious access patterns, pointing to Ethan, a trusted early resident, as a possible saboteur. Alaya felt a pang of disbelief. Ethan had been an advocate for Horizon 1's ideals. The evidence left little room for doubt. Alaya and Malik arranged a private meeting with Ethan, their hearts heavy. Ethan's face fell as they shared their suspicions.
"You think I'd betray everything I helped build?"
he asked, his voice tight with anger and hurt.
We're not accusing you, Ethan,
Alaya said gently.
but we need to understand what's going on.
Ethan sighed, his expression softening.
"I know what it looks like. I'd never harm Horizon 1, but outsiders, corporate types, have been reaching out to me. They call Horizon 1 naive, doomed to fail. I haven't engaged with them. I'm here for Horizon 1.
Alaya searched his eyes for deception, but saw only pain.
If they contact you again, let us know. This community depends on trust.
Ethan nodded solemnly, the weight of the suspicion heavy on him as he left. In the wake of the investigation, a sudden blackout struck. Another sabotage attempt, the city was plunged into darkness. Without the redundant power backup that Fresco had once envisioned for resilient systems, they had to act swiftly. Alaya's pulse quickened, but she watched in awe as residents mobilized without panic. They brought out emergency lights, set up makeshift stations, and worked side by side to restore power. This blackout wasn't a moment of despair, it became an opportunity for resilience and collective problem-solving. As the lights flickered back on, Malik addressed the community, his voice filled with pride.
Tonight, you've shown what Horizon 1 stands for. They can try to tear us down, but together we rise.
That night, Alaya and Malik stood at Horizon One's edge, the city's lights flickering gently in the distance. The quiet hum of solar grids and the scent of freshly turned earth filled the air. It was a reminder of the city's fragility and its strength.
They'll keep coming, won't they?
Alaya murmured, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Malik nodded, his face thoughtful.
As long as we represent change, there will always be resistance. But look at what we've built, Alaya. They can't take this from us.
He hesitated, his voice softening.
Sometimes I wonder if we're expecting people to be ready for something they can't fully grasp.
Alaya looked at him, surprised by his vulnerability.
Change isn't easy, Malik. But every day they show us they're willing to try. That's all we can ask.
Malik smiled, his expression one of quiet pride.
Then we keep going.
As dawn broke over Horizon One, Alaya felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The city, with its interwoven paths and rising towers, was more than a collection of buildings. It was a promise, a beacon of resilience. Together they had faced obstacles and emerged stronger, united by a shared belief in a future free from fear and scarcity. Whatever lay ahead, she knew they would face it together. Horizon One was not just a city. It was a movement, a living testament to what people could achieve when they chose hope, trust, and each other over fear and competition. For now, they had all they needed, each other, a shared purpose, and the quiet, steady confidence that no matter the threats, Horizon One would endure. As dusk settled over Horizon One, an uneasy tension filled the air. Residents gathered in the central hall, a spacious, warmly lit room adorned with community art and a low hum of conversation. Alaya stood near the entrance, observing the crowd, sensing their silent apprehension. Recent sabotage, legal threats, and now an approaching storm cast long shadows over the dreams they'd worked so hard to build. Lyle broke the silence.
I've been thinking.
He began, his voice hesitant but resolute. His hand hovered over his leather tool belt, a legacy from his family, one of the few personal items he'd brought with him.
I came here to be part of something different. But some things, I can't just let go of. This tool belt, it's all I have left of my family.
Alaya met his gaze, her voice calm and sincere.
Thank you for sharing, Lyle. Letting go isn't about erasing who we are. It's about finding strength in what we share without losing ourselves.
A young woman, Priya, raised her hand.
I keep a journal. It's private. Does that make me less committed to Horizon One?
Alaya smiled gently.
Not at all, Priya. We're here to create a life free from fear and hoarding, but that doesn't mean giving up what makes us individuals. It's the scarcity mindset we're moving beyond, not our personal identities.
A murmur of agreement spread, though some residents still seemed uneasy. Alaya caught Malik's reassuring nod from across the room.
The path we're on is new,
She continued.
Doubt is natural, but we came here to build something beyond competition and fear. Let's remember why we're here.
In the days that followed, Horizon One seemed to settle, but Alaya sensed an undercurrent of unease. Some residents murmured about leaving, questioning if Horizon One could withstand a real crisis. With the storm approaching on the horizon, their anxiety only deepened. One afternoon, as she and Malik reviewed emergency plans, Lyle approached, his face somber.
There's talk in the community,
He said, lowering his voice.
People are afraid that if the power goes out, we'll be left in the dark. Some wonder if Horizon One is too fragile to survive.
Malik's expression grew thoughtful.
Thank you, Lyle. We need to address this. Fear spreads fast, and I don't want anyone feeling trapped. They need to believe in Horizon One.
Alaya saw the weight in Malik's eyes, a rare vulnerability that reminded her how deeply he felt the responsibility of leadership. Horizon One had always been an ambitious vision, But now, facing people's doubts head-on, she felt that responsibility as a tangible weight. When the storm finally struck, it came with a fury that sent the entire city scrambling. Winds howled, rain lashed at windows, and in one blinding flash, the power grid flickered, then went dark. Alaya's heart pounded as the city plunged into silence, her mind racing with the immediate dangers. She could hear anxious voices rising, see flashlight beams slicing through the darkness. Horizon 1, their sanctuary, felt suddenly vulnerable, exposed. She ran to the control room, where Malik and Jiro were already assessing the damage.
The main system is down,
Jiro said, his face tense.
The AI can't allocate resources, and backup power is partial at best. We'll need to ration everything manually.
Malik's jaw tightened.
We need every available hand on this. Alaya, can you organize volunteers to set up a temporary distribution center? Keeping people calm is priority.
Alaya moved swiftly through the hallways, calling for volunteers, her own fears bubbling beneath the surface. But she focused on the task at hand. Within minutes, residents gathered with flashlights, blankets, and supplies, forming orderly lines at a makeshift distribution station. As they worked, a commotion arose nearby. Alaya turned to see Ethan slumped on the floor, his hand clutched to his chest. Panic rippled through the crowd.
Ethan!
She called, rushing to his side. Lyle and Anna joined her, making him as comfortable as possible. Alaya's mind raced. The blackout had crippled their medical systems. Without access to emergency equipment, their resources were limited. Ethan's shallow breaths underscored the vulnerability of their situation.
I'll get water,
Lyle said urgently.
Stay with us, Ethan,
Alaya whispered, trying to mask her own fear. This was more than a blackout. It was a brutal reminder of how dependent they were on Horizon 1 systems. A reminder of how fragile their lives could become in the face of failure. But even amid the tension, the community's strength emerged. Residents gathered, offering blankets and murmuring words of comfort. Alaya felt a surge of gratitude as Anna squeezed her shoulder in solidarity. This was Horizon 1's spirit, supporting one another, even when they had so little to give. Throughout the night, Alaya and Lyle worked tirelessly, passing out supplies and reassuring anxious residents. Every shadow, every flicker of light felt charged with tension, but each word of comfort, each act of kindness bolstered the community's resilience. At one point, a group of residents approached Alaya, their faces lined with worry. Samuel, a middle-aged man, voiced what they all seemed to be thinking.
Can we really trust the AI after this?
Alaya met his gaze, her voice steady.
This isn't about blind faith in technology, Samuel. Horizon 1 is more than its systems. It's the people here working together that make this place strong.
Her words calmed them, and as she watched, people continued to help each other, sharing resources and finding comfort together. They weren't just individuals, they were a community. As dawn approached, exhaustion weighed on Alaya, but a deep pride swelled within her. When power was finally restored, Malik gathered the community for a meeting. His face bore the fatigue of a sleepless night, but his voice was steady.
Last night was a test,
He began.
It reminded us of our vulnerability, but it also proved our strength. We faced this together and showed that Horizon 1 is more than just a network of systems. It's a community.
Lyle, standing near the front, cleared his throat, his voice rough with emotion.
I've had my doubts,
He admitted.
I never thought people could live like this, sharing everything. But last night I saw folks giving up their own rations, helping others before themselves. I realized I was holding on to the past because I was afraid.
He paused, looking at his tool belt, then placed it on the floor.
I'm ready to be part of this. Fully. To trust. What we're building here, it's worth it.
Applause spread through the room, and Alaya felt warmth fill her chest. This wasn't just a victory over a blackout. It was a moment of renewed commitment. In the days following the storm, Horizon 1 stabilized. Repairs were made, the AI was back online, and the community had regained a sense of calm. Yet Alaya couldn't ignore the lasting effects of the blackout. One evening, as she and Malik watched the sunset, she voiced her thoughts.
We're building something unprecedented,
She said quietly.
People are being asked to leave behind everything familiar, to embrace something radically different. Sometimes I wonder if it's too much change all at once.
Malik nodded, his gaze thoughtful.
Change is always unsettling, especially when it challenges everything people have known. But every step forward, every challenge met, it all becomes part of the foundation. Horizon 1 is showing that it's possible to live differently.
His words eased some of her lingering doubts.
Maybe proving it's possible is enough for now.
As the months passed, Horizon 1 continued to grow, each challenge a step toward resilience. The initial struggles had given way to a stronger, more cohesive spirit, and Alaya saw determination in every face. One evening, she returned to the vertical farms for a moment of reflection. There, she found Lyle working alongside Aiden, a young boy who had taken an interest in farming. Watching them, Alaya felt a sense of fulfillment she hadn't realized she needed.
Evening, Alaya.
Lyle greeted her with a smile.
Aiden here's learning to care for the tomatoes. Think he might be a farmer one day.
She smiled warmly.
I'm glad to see it. We're building something real here. Every system here is built on trial, observation, and adaptation. Take the vertical farms. Our design wasn't perfect at first, but we observed, adjusted, and repeated until it worked.
Lyle looked down at his tool belt, now shared and worn by many hands.
You know, I thought I'd lose myself by giving this up. But I've found more in sharing than I ever did holding on.
Alaya's heart swelled with gratitude. Horizon 1 had given them more than a place to live. It had given them a reason to believe, a purpose that transcended scarcity and fear. Together they had not only survived the storm, they had emerged stronger, united by a shared vision. Alaya knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, Horizon 1 was ready to face them, not as individuals, but as a community that had learned the power of resilience and trust.